Over a daytime view of a fantasy city, Cid Kagenoh mused on his current magical world, but admitted that he did not actually hate his previous life on Earth. Back then, he was just a background character in a battle for grades and ranks. Of course, this never stopped his secret pursuit to become a true eminence in shadow. The biggest difference was his old world lacked any real opportunities to exhibit his power. Instead of fighting bandits, he was stuck chasing local hoodlums around every night. A real incident, as he called it, was about to unfold. The events that happened that one night were truly something special. He was not Cid Kagenoh there, but a second-year high school student named Kageno Minoru. Scene shifts to a high school classroom. A popular girl, Akane Nishino, handed him a printout he had dropped on the floor. He took it with a quiet thanks, looking down at his desk. He then proceeded to call her by the completely wrong name. Akane forced a pained smile, trying to correct his obvious mistake. She reminded him they had been classmates for 3 months and asked if he would remember her name. He feigned embarrassment, insisting that he did, of course, remember who she was. Internally, he knew perfectly well who the famous actress and billionaire's daughter was. He then called her Nishitani-san, much to the girl's increasing frustration. When he followed it up with the first incorrect name, she finally snapped. She quickly caught herself, looking flustered by her own uncharacteristic outburst. He simply noted that for some reason the popular girl didn't seem to like him. Scene shifts to a dark street later that night. Kageno preferred being ignored, so he counted himself lucky for the most part. But as he walked, a sudden, desperate female voice cried out for help. He watched with a neutral expression as 2 men forced Akane Nishino into a white van. Inside the vehicle, she struggled while one of the kidnappers grinned menacingly at her. Kageno's impassive face suddenly twisted into a wide, manic grin of pure excitement. Scene shifts to an abandoned warehouse. The grimy interior of the building was dark and filled with debris. Inside, a bound Akane was informed that a ransom demand was on its way. One of the kidnappers touched her chin, remarking that she was quite a doll. He cruelly reminded her of a prior kidnapping incident that occurred in middle school. Akane fought back valiantly, kicking him squarely in the stomach and making him recoil. The thug grimaced in pain, his demeanor immediately turning sour and aggressive. Enraged, he grabbed her arm and threatened to show her what happens to people who resist. The gagged girl squeezed her eyes shut, preparing for the absolute worst. Suddenly, the loud crash of a nearby window exploding inwards echoed through the warehouse. Akane's eyes snapped open, a flicker of hope appearing in her terrified gaze. Her 2 captors spun around in alarm as a dark, hooded figure landed behind them. The mysterious figure's face was completely obscured, with only 2 glowing white eyes visible. He struck a dramatic pose, holding a crowbar over his shoulder. "I'm just the Stylish Gangster Slayer!" The kidnappers stared back in utter disbelief at the ridiculous name. One thug briefly looked impressed, remarking, "That's pretty dope," before his expression soured. His momentary appreciation vanished as he brandished a baseball bat and charged forward, screaming. The kidnapper swung his bat wildly, but the Slayer dodged the attack with fluid ease. The attacker could only gasp in shock at the masked man's incredible speed. Before the thug could react, a single powerful hook knocked him out cold. The remaining kidnapper observed with a critical eye, noting his opponent's practiced stance. He pulled out a large combat knife, unimpressed by the previous display of skill. The man revealed he was a former soldier and took a professional fighting stance. The masked hero turned his head slightly, seeming genuinely intrigued by the challenge. Good. He had always wanted to test his strength against a real soldier. The kidnapper laughed confidently and charged forward to attack his smaller opponent. The stylish gangster slayer raised his arm, calmly preparing to meet the assault. He blocked the knife thrust with his crowbar, the impact creating a shower of sparks. The soldier's eyes widened in surprise at the vigilante's unconventional choice of weapon. The masked man calmly explained that a crowbar is strong, sturdy, and widely available. It was an effective countermeasure, he noted, even when used against a trained professional. He then swiftly used the tool like a tonfa, striking the soldier's arm. The man's combat knife was knocked from his grasp, clattering uselessly to the floor. The disarmed soldier rushed in again, declaring he had discovered a huge weakness. He pointed out that his opponent was significantly smaller and lighter than him. In terms of raw physical mass, the soldier was vastly superior. As long as he protected his head, one clean hit would be enough to win. The massive soldier faced off against the slighter, crowbar-wielding hero in the warehouse. The slayer quietly conceded that, as he stood no chance against a real soldier. "I just need to get serious." Suddenly, his body swelled with an impossible amount of muscle. The former soldier stared forward, his eyes wide in absolute, horrified shock. The kidnapped girl looked on with equally terrified eyes from her spot on the floor. The source of their fear was a menacing, impossibly muscular, masked figure. The masked man stood opposite the kidnapper, holding his crowbar ready in a low stance. He continued his lecture about the unlimited potential of the crowbar, shaped like a tonfa. The goateed man screamed at him, demanding to know what was wrong with his body. A look of horrified recognition dawned as he recalled urban legends about a local fool. He finally screamed out the Vigilante's far more infamous and much less stylish name, the Mask Berserker. The Berserker confirmed his identity, complaining that local delinquents had finally started wearing helmets. This recent development had led him to one very important answer about his weapon. The goateed man recoiled in fear, pleading for the masked man not to get any closer. The Berserker swung his crowbar, declaring that a normal hit was far more powerful. The sounds of brutal impacts echoed as he lectured on the crowbar's L-shaped potential. Splattered with blood, he sighed, lamenting that he still wasn't strong enough to fight a soldier. He reached his hand toward the full moon, declaring he needed more power. The masked man suddenly turned his head, looking directly at the captive girl. Akane squeezed her eyes shut and braced herself, expecting the absolute worst. He simply walked away, leaving her untied on the floor with a word of advice. Now free, Akane Nishino touched her chin thoughtfully, pondering her rescuer's familiar voice. She looked up, a silent question forming as she tried to place his identity. Her eyes widened slightly as an impossible, ridiculous possibility clicked into place. A small, amused smile played on her lips as she considered the absurd name he chose. Scene shifts to the high school the next day. Inside the classroom, Akane's hand extended to return another dropped printout. A black-haired boy named Kageno accepted the paper with a quiet word of thanks. He looked down as he took the paper from his classmate. Sitting at his desk, he turned and correctly addressed her as Nishino-san. She looked at him, surprised by the direct and accurate address. She commented that he finally got it right, but he just seemed confused. Flustered, Akane quickly turned her head away, telling him to forget it. From then on, she inexplicably began talking to him more often. He never knew what ultimately happened to that girl, or to that entire world. The final image of the classroom showed it as a derelict, shattered ruin. Scene shifts to an abstract void. Shadow adjusted his mask, annoyed by this troublesome and unexpected turn of events. He was now standing on a rooftop, surveying a completely devastated modern cityscape. Inside a ruined building, he noted the sudden presence of magic and wondered what happened. His subordinate, a blonde elf named Beta, appeared and reported their strange new location. He calmly greeted her, and she expressed her relief at finding him safe. She then urged him to come take a look at another building nearby. Beta pointed to an iron plate with strange symbols next to an apartment door. He simply read the name aloud, leaving her completely stunned by his ability. Shadow confirmed that he could read the language of this strange new world. Standing together on the ledge, he revealed that this world was called Earth. This ruined country, he explained to his subordinate, was once known as Japan. Scene shifts to a pristine modern apartment building. A young woman with long dark hair, Akane Nishino, looked out at an undamaged city. What the heck is in Japan? She wondered aloud.